Welcome everyone to Sister Wives with Mary Jane Kay. Today I'll be breaking down Season 1, Episode 4, Third Wife in Labor. There are lots of streaming apps that offer Sister Wives, but for those interested, I do want to point out that on the TLC Go app and the TLC website, there are many free unlocked seasons of Sister Wives. You can watch for free with no cable provider or login needed to access a plethora of episodes and seasons. Also, if anyone is interested in supporting Christine, please check out her fabulous cooking show, Cooking with Just Christine, on the TLC website or TLC's Instagram page every Sunday. A new episode drops with amazing, tasty treats. Okay, let's get into the episode. Season 1, Episode 4, Third Wife in Labor. The episode opens with Christine. Christine says, even though Truly isn't born yet, she loves everyone in the family. She goes insane moving around in Christine's belly whenever Kody comes in the room. Janelle was surprised when Christine said she was going to have another child because Christine had a miscarriage a year ago. She got up in the middle of the night and hemorrhaged, and it was a very scary experience, and Christine could have died. Christine has an appointment today to see if she should be induced, and Kody accompanies her. She was due a week ago, so the doctor has to decide if Christine should be induced. Janelle says their world is very crazy right now. Mary says Robin's wedding is coming up in 2 months. Mary has a 20th anniversary coming up in a week, and Truly is overdue by a week. Christine is nervous. She doesn't know how things will go. She says babysitting is covered for her other kids, though. Kody seems very attentive on the car ride over to the doctors to the hospital. He's holding her hand, and Robin, Kody's fiance at this time, asked Christine what she wanted her to do when Christine had the baby. She said she wouldn't come over and take charge unless Christine wanted her to. Christine told Robin she wanted her to come over and to take charge, so Robin is holding down the fort. Robin went over to Christine's, and she picked up Janelle's and Christine's kids and took them to her house to all party together, and she calls it party. There is a scene of chaos of the kids running around, bouncing off the walls, playing together. Robin says going from 3 kids to 15 kids is overwhelming sometimes because she's going, whoa, there's a lot here. There's a lot of needs here. And she does a jazz hands gesture to express her exasperation at that. And then she goes into her usual default setting of tears. And there were actual tears this time. There was a droplet under one eye, so I won't say it's fake. Her voice breaks and she says, coming from a broken family herself and having a stepfather become her daddy and raising her as his daughter, all his own, it's very easy for her to extend that, and it's very natural to these children for her to be there, that they're not hers biologically, but it's easy for her to be there for them. Is that why at the tell-all she specifically named Janelle's kids for blaming her, or why she refused to let Isabel enter her home and interact with her siblings and dad when the nanny was allowed in during Isabel's recovery period? Because it's so natural to her to mother these children of Kody's other wives. Mary says, who says where the line is drawn of who you can love? I noticed that all the wives, especially Robin and Mary, say you know a lot before everything they express. Mary says she always wanted 8 kids, you know. She expected to have that. But it took them 5 years to have Mariah, and 3 years ago, she got pregnant out of the blue, and it was a wonderful surprise, but then she miscarried. That must have been heartbreaking to want lots of kids so much and struggle to have one, then to get an unexpected gift and have it taken away. Life can be very unfair and very cruel. I feel for Mary in that aspect of her life. I noticed in the confessional scenes with Robin and Mary, as they are getting really emotional and heartfelt and deep, Janelle will say one comment, not too deep or emotional, and then she sits there just completely far away. She has a completely far away, distanced look on her face. As Robin does her emotional stuff and Mary does it as well, she doesn't even look at them. She just seems a little bit checked out. I get it. For Janelle, she's practical. She isn't going to wear her heart on her sleeve and carry on camera. That's just her personality. Mary's only 2 pregnancies were her daughter and her miscarriage. Back at the hospital, Kody explains that today is the 13th and they don't want Truly born on the 13th. Christine asks in case of Fridays, referencing the classic horror film Friday the 13th, of course. Kody says in case someday she has her birthday on Friday the 13th. Christine explains no, that they aren't superstitious. Janelle says she was concerned when Christine had her miscarriage, and when she decided to go to the hospital rather than to have a home birth, Janelle was relieved, especially considering Christine's age. Mary says Christine wanted to take all of the precautions she could to make sure that the birth goes well. Christine and Kody are in their room together, sitting together on her hospital bed, and Christine is excited. She says, "Oh my gosh, Kody, it's your 13th child on the 13th. Kody laughs and says, "We have to induce." Christine says it's Kody's 13th biological child on the 13th day. Holy cow, let's do it today. I noticed that Robin recently used the term duh, which is way out of date by the period this was filmed, and Christine just used holy cow. This lingo, duh, holy cow, it's stuff I remember from early elementary school and from Thank God It's Friday, when we would all wait eagerly to watch Full House before the days of DVR and internet streaming, and even before the days of DVDs and CDs, way back when. The language is way out of date for the time period that all the wives are using it in. I wonder if it's a Utah thing or a culture thing, but it's just a little bit odd. Kody and Christine want to induce today, depending on what the doctor says. Kody seems very attentive, asking his then wife, Christine, if she wants to lean back for comfort. He's laying beside her in the hospital bed, cuddling, waiting for the doctor, and he asks if there's anything he can do for her if her back is sore. He tells Christine he just wants her to be comfortable. Christine tells him he's very sweet and she's very comfortable. In walks her nurse, Pam, and Kody immediately jumps off of the bed. Christine jokes, "Awkward." The doctor walks in and Kody says, "If you think it's a cool idea, she's my 13th child and it's the 13th. Christine tells her doctor that she's a week overdue. The doctor gives his blessing and Kody's excited with Christine. He says it's like Christmas Day is here and he can be excited now. They put the baby on the monitor and Kody takes the scope part himself and finds the heartbeat. He asks, "Am I an ace or what?" Christine tells Kody he can be a doctor now because he was able to find the heartbeat himself. Kody asks, "So what have we got here?" asking about the various monitors strapped to Christine's belly. There's a heart monitor and also a contraction monitor. Christine has never had an epidural with her 5 other kids, so today she'll try her first epidural. Christine says she's thinking it's her 6th child. She deserves it. The nurse says she has done deliveries before for polygamists. She asks Kody if Christine is his first wife, and Kody tells her that Christine is the 3rd. Kody says he was blessed with Christine. The nurse has a lot of polygamist ancestors. She says that's okay. She can't be too judgmental about it because back down in her line, there are polygamists as well. Janelle explains that in polygamist culture, home birth is a common thing. It felt as though she was going to keep explaining further, but then Robin cuts in and Janelle looks at her and does a tongue jut. That body language, a tongue jut, can sometimes mean displeasure or distaste. I get the vibe Janelle wasn't happy that Robin took over and didn't let her finish, but it could also be editing, to be fair. Robin explains when you go to the hospital, there is all of this information that they want. And the dad is sitting there trying to protect his identity because he can't be known to have more than one wife. Notice Robin used "sitting there," another common phrase she uses frequently. Maybe that's the case, but also, why can't the father have another child outside of his one wife and claim them? Is it for fear of being known as a polygamist or for the child support he would have to pay? Or that it might preclude the wife from benefits as a single mom with no father listed on the birth certificate? Janelle says that if the husband goes to jail, it's a problem. Christine's doctor explains that she wants to be induced today and Christine's cervix is ready to go and the baby is in the right position, so they will proceed with the induction and give Christine her first epidural, and the doctor thinks she'll enjoy it. She's pushing a whole baby out of her, and I've never given birth personally, but I imagine it feels like ripping out your insides and destroying your body, pushing your body to its limits to birth a life. It seems like a level 10 pain experience, so I'd personally take the epidural with pleasure, and I'm sure Christine will enjoy it. The doctor wants to give Christine the dose of medicine to induce her because they have to get her contractions started, and Christine says there's only so many hours left in the 13th, and she wants Truly born on this date. So they proceed. Christine says she isn't progressing as much as she usually has in her previous births. Usually when she is 2 to 4 days past due, she delivers. With Truly, she's already a week overdue and she is really high up and there is no guarantee that she'll lower. There's still a long ways to go. Mary explains that Christine had the miscarriage a year ago. Janelle says it was scary. Christine has always had very easy pregnancies, but this last one that she had a year ago was very scary. Everything was going fine, and then they went to hear the heartbeat, and the heartbeat wasn't there. And a few days later, she miscarried and she hemorrhaged. Janelle is glad to see Christine go to the hospital for this birth, especially with her age complications. Janelle says she's had very competent home birth, and Christine has had Christina's had very competent home births as well. The home births for both of them have been really great experiences. But Janelle thinks when there's any risk like that, it's good to go to the hospital, and most midwives won't take on a home birth with added risks. Kody is on his phone, all smiles, texting Robin as Christine is waiting to give birth. Robin has an announcement for the kids at her house. She announces that their mommy is having her baby right now. One of the kids jumps up and down and yells, "Yay, no more school for me." I believe it's Savannah. I used to get excited like that for snow days as a child when I was a kid and school was canceled, so I can definitely relate. Savannah seems more excited about missing school than a new baby sister, but at 4 or 5, naturally, you first are going to see how whatever situation affects you. All the kids are super excited, and McKelty thinks it's pretty awesome. Mary says she was thinking she wants to go. She wants to know when Christine will have the baby and how long it will take. She says once you get induced, it could be any time. Kody tells Christine he wonders if he should leave her and go home to change his clothes and to get Christine's stuff and to tell everyone. And Christine wants Kody to get Aspen to be there for the birth. Kody leaves, and the nurse has Christine sit on an exercise ball for comfort. Christine says the experience in the hospital has been good so far, and she's pleasantly shocked by that. She thinks about all of her 5 home births, and she reflects back, have I made a mistake? Kody goes straight to his fiancée Robin's house. He seems to have extra time for extra stops while Christine is alone in the hospital. He tells his fiancée Robin that Mary and Janelle are both at work and the baby might come faster than one would think. He tells Robin she might have to load up what kids she can to go to the hospital, and someone else might have to watch some of them. Because the whole family altogether can only be there for an hour or so after the baby is born. Christine's water just broke as she's alone in her room. Someone tells her that the nurse will be right down. She says when her water breaks, she usually has the baby, bam, just like that, very quickly. She calls Kody, who is at Robin's, and tells him to hurry because she knows the baby will be here quickly, like all of her other births. Kody is leaving Robin's, and she asks if he wants a snack, and he leaves, and Robin follows him outside and closes the door, and they giggle and both say, "What?" to each other as Christine is waiting at the hospital, her water just breaking. Kody closes the door to her house and says they ain't got a clue. They're all giggles, and he kisses Robin, and they're hugging and laughing. A cameraman follows them and opens the door to find them kissing, and Kody says in confessional that a camera follows me, and I'm like, dude, it's just awkward. Then he walks back to Robin and gets another kiss as he's already made it halfway to the car. He walks back to get another kiss and hug, and he says he's not going to be kissing his girlfriend while his wife is giving birth, but he does just that. He walks back to get a second kiss on camera when he's in a hurry, and Christine is alone after her water just broke, and she's asking him to please hurry. He's all giggles and smiles, and Robin too. Keep in mind at this point, Robin is still just his fiancée. None of the other wives kissed Kody before the wedding day because for their family, the etiquette is to wait to kiss at the altar. But we know Robin has other standards than Kody held with the other wives. We know they kissed at the very least after he proposed, and it didn't happen with his other wives who felt it improper to kiss a married man before the altar. We also know Christine found out about that and was deeply hurt by it, and Robin was so upset she upset Christine. Yet as Christine is having her first hospital birth in a high-risk pregnancy, when her last pregnancy resulted in a miscarriage and her hemorrhaging in the middle of the night, and it was near fatal, that Kody has left under the guise of changing and getting Christine's stuff and also picking up Aspen, and yet he goes straight to Robin's rental and tells her stuff he could have texted about logistics. When Christine, who is all alone, calls to tell him to hurry, her water just broke, she explains that when her water breaks, the baby usually comes right away typically. But Kody has time to leave and go outside, and Robin follows him outside, and he closes the door, and they kiss and embrace, and it's not just a quick peck, and they're both laughing. Kody says no one has a clue, and then a cameraman follows them and opens the door and catches them, and Kody says he's not going to kiss his girlfriend while his wife is in labor, and he walks halfway to the car, and then he walks back again to Robin to get a second kiss and hug, and they are both giggling like schoolgirls while Christine is alone in the hospital and her water has just broken and she told him to hurry. We also know in their family they don't kiss until the marriage altar, but Kody kissed Robin when he got engaged, and it upset Christine deeply. And he knows it upsets Christine, who is in labor, having a new experience of being induced and giving birth in a hospital after a terrifying miscarriage, and Kody takes time when Christine is alone and has asked him to hurry to try to secretly kiss his fiancée, not once, but he takes time to walk back to her a second time and do it again, all giggles when Christine wasn't happy they kissed before the altar and it hurts her, yet he feels comfortable to kiss Robin twice, who's still his fiance, while Christine is giving birth and her water has just broke. Robin, the favorite soulmate wife, has gotten the legal marriage so that Kody could adopt her kids, and her kids get insurance through him, and they get Kody's name on their birth certificates as their father. Also, Robin got to kiss him, and in my opinion, possibly more than that before the marriage altar, when the other wives waited and felt it was improper. She also got a separate rental all to herself. Kody was very involved with her wedding details as well, including picking her dress when Robin took her sister wives to help her, and she later went with Kody to pick a dress. Kody was not at all involved with the wedding details of his other wives. Mary got a larger wedding, but Robin got a huge wedding, and Kody was very involved in all the details. He showed interest and investment in the wedding, and he didn't do that with the other wives. Also, Robin got a 10-day honeymoon, and the wives got 2 or 3 day road trips. Robin also got a nanny when she has 3 grown adult kids living with her and Kody at home to help with 2 little ones. But when Christine said she was overwhelmed and needed help when she cared for at least 7 kids at a time, all week plus meals and homeschooling, Kody told her she was shit out of luck. She signed up for this, that this was her end of the deal to uphold, and he couldn't help her or get her help. There are a lot of different standards with Robin, not to mention he used C19 as an excuse to live monogamy with her. He also was glad to go to Dayton's eye surgery, but for Isabel's life-threatening serious surgery, he initially suggested she go alone when she was in tremendous pain as a minor to fly to New Jersey for serious surgery. Christine had to reassure her she would never allow it, and she took her daughter alone with no help from Kody. And apparently she also had to do a GoFundMe to pay for it. When Isabel woke up from anesthesia, the first request she had was for her father, who wasn't there. Kody went so far as to call the trip to New Jersey for surgery a vacation, and he tried to discourage Isabel from even getting the surgery by saying she'd have an ugly scar. He then asked her if she would become a bitter old housewife because he didn't attend, and when they arrived back and she was recovering, I doubt Kody was up nights helping Christine with the med schedule or with the rehab. Also, Kody said this season that his home feels like Robin's house and her kids feel like his kids. He doesn't feel like Janelle's home is his or Christine's, and he always refers to his kids with Janelle as Janelle's kids or his kids with Christine as Christine's kids. Peyton said recently in an interview that they all notice it in the family that Kody makes that distinction. I've heard him refer to Robin's kids as our kids or even his kids, but he distances from the kids with his wives that he has rocky relationships with. Also, he was trying to make Janelle kick her older sons out, saying they're 18, and he's done all he can for them because they wouldn't obey his mandates. Janelle refused. She always picks her kids first, but Kody is happy to have 3 of Robin's very adult children live under his roof because they follow his mandates and they worship him and respect him, so there is never an issue with having them move out, and Kody even said he is happy to have them and help them because they respect him. So there are a lot of different standards, not just with the courtship of Robin to the other wives, but in how he views Robin and her kids and his kids with the other wives and his other wives. He went so far as to say this season that his wives are obstacles to his goals, and he's basically living monogamy with Robin this past season. Back to the show. Kody has not only left Christine under the guise of changing and getting her stuff and getting Aspen, but he appears to still be in the same clothes, stopping at Robin's first. When called to hurry, he is all giggles, and Robin follows him out to try and get kisses, and it's not just a quick peck. And he has almost walked to the car and takes time to walk back again for more, as Christine is alone in her room and her water has just broke, and she knows the baby could come any second. That's disgusting behavior on the part of Robin and on the part of Kody, and it's incredibly insensitive to Christine as well. It's vile, and it just makes crystal clear the types of values Robin has and the types of values Kody has, and just how much they both lack respect for Christine, and just how selfish they both are, and I think it's absolutely deplorable. Christine's nurse is explaining to her that an epidural makes your blood vessels enlarge, and when that happens, if there isn't a lot of extra fluid, the mother's blood pressure can drop very fast. Kody arrives back at the hospital with Aspen, and it's time for Christine's epidural. Aspen explains that she's 15. She thinks it's an okay age to see her mom give birth. The nurse jokes that after the epidural, Christine may want another baby, and that Kody will be in there having all the wives get epidurals. Kody jokes with the anesthesiologist, "Did you dull the needles on purpose?" He kisses Christine right after kissing Robin to comfort her when she's about to get the epidural. I think it's really gross, in my opinion. The nurse explains that Christine will feel pressure when it's time to push, but she shouldn't feel any pain. And after the epidural, she feels warmth from the waist down, and she's just a little bit loopy after. The kids are all playing at Robin's, especially with a huge dollhouse. Robin explains that the dollhouse has been her dream forever. Since she was a little girl, her dad made it for her. And Robin has been saving doll furniture ever since Brianna was a little baby. She said when she first started the house, she had 2 little girls to play with it, and now she has more girls to come play with it. And she hugs Isabel, who sweetly says, "I have a new mom." Robin says the girls have been fighting over the mommies because there are 4 mommy dolls and 1 daddy doll. So I wonder, when Ariella plays with this dollhouse, are there now 3 mommy dolls and 1 daddy doll? I picture Robin sticking needles in the doll representing Christine at night, seething in the anger and resentment she displayed over Christine's divorce because the family no longer coincided with her ideal picture in her mind or the dreams that she posted on her vision board. She probably blames Christine for impeding the manifestation, just like she blames Christine for not trying hard enough at the tell-all or as hard as she tried in her first marriage, rather than holding Kody accountable. Robin says and does a lot of things that are in her place, and this tell-all, she was just seething with an inexplainable amount of anger and resentment and frustration at Christine's divorce. She really says and does a lot of things that are in her place. Peyton recently pointed out that Robin was wrong in blaming Christine and in accusing her of not trying hard enough when there were 30 years of Christine trying. Robin tried so hard for less time than Christine ever did in her first marriage. And Peyton feels that it wasn't Robin's place, and I agree that it's definitely not her place to comment on that and to feel that way. Back to the dollhouse, Robin says that the girls are fighting over which mommies they each get to play with. Aurora shows cameras the doll representing Mary, Kody's first wife. Savannah has Janelle. Brianna, I believe, shows us the Robin doll. Gwen takes the Mary doll and has it make out with the Kody doll, and she says, "This is the funnest part to play." Gwen shows us there's even a tiny plastic baby Truly, and the plastic toy representing Truly actually looks a lot like baby Truly. It's uncanny. I think Robin is so weird. This dollhouse with a doll for each wife and Kody, in my opinion, is creepy AF. I know it's meant to be very sweet, but it's super creepy. This is almost as creepy as the old photo Robin had of her kids and her first husband that she had drawn where she had Kody replaced in her first husband's place. Robin is so weird in a very creepy way. She says the girls were fighting over who gets to play with the Kody doll, so she explained to them, "You know how your daddy gets to come to each one of the different houses and spend a little bit of time? You guys have to take turns with the daddy doll too." Back at the hospital, Kody asks Dr. Bean who he would recommend for a fertility doctor for IVF, as Christine is in the process of giving birth. And the doctor asks why. He says he has a wife who only has one. And the doctor asks, "One ovary?" Kody laughs and Christine explains, "One child." He jokes, "That's funny. That's the business I'm in, is kids." Christine says, "Classic, isn't it?" Dr. Bean says, "That's kind of weird talking about one wife's fertility while another is giving birth." Dr. Bean was assuming that it was for Christine, thinking she doesn't have a problem. Kody explains that Mary and Christine have always had a very close relationship. When? Before the show? They don't seem that close to me. Kody asks if IVF is expensive. Dr. Bean says yes, it can be expensive, but for some people, it's the perfect thing. Janelle is at Robin's rental, and she says that they had planned to bring everybody to see the baby, but Truly hasn't come yet, and it's going to be so late that Janelle doesn't know if the hospital will want them bringing in 20 people to visit. Janelle says Christine holds things together for her as far as the children, and we know that Christine was the primary caregiver to Janelle's kids, and they are all really close even to this day, and they view Christine as a mom, and they even have Christine's back on the show and with Kody to his face when he tries to deflect blame on Christine, particularly in the scene with Gabe when he tried to blame not seeing Christine's kids and visiting Christine's house on Christine getting a massage and that being against his C19 mandates. Gabe defended Christine, and I thought that was rad, and Janelle and Christine are very close. Janelle explains that Robin now has started to help a lot with the kids. The baby is now in the right position, so the nurse is getting Dr. Bean. Janelle tells viewers Kody just called and Christine is at the point of delivery and it's maybe 5 to 10 minutes away. Kody wants Janelle to start loading everyone up in a half hour, and Janelle has to call Robin to coordinate with her. They show Christine giving birth. I wouldn't want cameras until after my baby was safely born. I thought it was a very quick birth. Out comes Truly, and they lay Truly on Christine's chest and they wipe her down, and she immediately calls Aspen to come closer. And I thought that was very sweet. Seconds after the birth, she wants Aspen to see her baby sister Truly. It's very selfless and loving as a mother to think of her older child who's in the room. Christine tells Aspen Truly looks just like her. Truly starts crying, and it's adorable. It's heart-melting. My heart was melting into a puddle type adorable. It was very sweet and just very beautiful. Kody cuts the umbilical cord. Christine says she pushed for 5 minutes, and oh my gosh, she has a baby again. The nurse weighs Truly, who is at 7 pounds, 11 ounces. Kody holds Truly and he's smiling, and you can tell it's incredibly beautiful and heartfelt. And you see the love in Kody's face just radiating. Where is that Kody now? It would be very nice to see him evolve back into that Kody and become better than he is currently behaving. I don't know if that Kody is still in there somewhere, but I would really hope for that. He's very bitter and angry and controlling and resentful and toxic, especially as the seasons of Sister Wives progress. Kody has so many wonderful blessings in life that I'm not sure why. Christine says that the birth was amazingly easy. Aspen says it was so cool and Truly is really cute. She says seeing her mom give birth was kind of weird. She didn't see anything other than the head coming out, and then she looked away because she didn't want to see anything else and she was scared. Aspen texted Janelle that Christine gave birth, and so she tells everyone to get ready to go, and everyone's excited, and Robin does the same at her house. Mary explains that when you have 20 people, it's chaos to get mobilized, especially when most of those 20 people are children. Robin interjects that she has to say brown chaos is very special, and she does her jazz hands. She does that a lot this episode. Janelle shows Isabel a picture of Truly, and Isabel looks at the picture, and Janelle tells her that Truly looks just like her. The whole clan heads to the hospital. Kody says Truly has the cutest little face, and I don't always agree with Kody as a viewer, but I'll agree with that. She's an adorable baby, and she has an adorable, perfect little face. Janelle says when they all got out of the car, they felt like this huge mass of people walking into the hospital. Robin says it felt like they would overtake the hospital, but they had a baby to see. The nurse tells them they would have been bummed if they made it 5 minutes past the 13th and the due date that they wanted, but they made it just in time for Truly to have the 13th as her birthday. Kody holds Truly up so everyone can admire her. It's very sweet. Everyone thinks it's the cutest baby ever, and Truly is absolutely adorable. Isabel hugs Christine very sweetly as Christine is crying happy tears, seeing the whole family hold and admire Truly. And Isabel asks, "Are you crying, Mommy?" It's very sweet and heartwarming and human to see this beautiful, wonderful moment. Janelle is holding Truly and joking. She doesn't want to give her up. Janelle says all of the children have seemed sort of like her own children. So it's like her just expecting another child without having to do all the work when another wife is having a baby. Robin holds Truly and says she was glowing. She felt sparkly holding Truly. Everything with Robin is always about how she feels as an individual, how it affects her feelings, very selfish, even with a newborn. She felt holding Truly and seeing this as a family, it made her very excited to be joining the family. Nothing about congratulating Christine or her hopes for Truly and Truly's life. Mary says she always wanted to have a big family. She figured out that she'd always have a lot of kids, and she guesses she does have a lot of kids, but she went about it a little bit differently. The episode ends with some adorable scenes of Truly smiling in her crib with all of her adorable stuffed animals around her. It's very, very precious. My heart feels like it's melted into a puddle, like butter in a hot skillet this episode. Other than Kody's behavior with Robin and Robin's extra creepy voodoo dollhouse, I loved the episode. That does it for this episode. Next week, I'll tackle Season 1, Episode 5, titled First Wife's 20th Anniversary. That's going to be a good one. Mary and Kody have a fancy dinner at Lakai where Aspen ended up marrying Mitch later on. And Mary was explaining her struggles with jealousy and polygamy, suggesting, imagine I had other husbands. And Kody immediately rejected her comparison and shut her down as if it was distasteful or absurd. That will be a fun one. Thanks so much for listening. Please like, comment down below. Let me know all of your thoughts and insights. I love to hear them. And if you like the content, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. I'd really like to do some live panels sometime in the future. And I'd love the option of getting a community tab so I can do polls and gauge what you guys want me to focus on and have that added level of interaction with you guys. And the only way I can get a community page is for the channel to grow. Also, if any of you are interested in my commentary on 90 days, please check out my other channel, 90 Day with Mary Jane K. I'll see you guys in the comments section, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.